So a lot of, as we've talked about the places that connected location may go, a lot of the conversation has gravitated towards the issues around connectivity and business models around connectivity and maybe different options around connectivity. Do I assume from that that we're where we need to be on the location side? Or is there more, I mean, what do you see right now? GPS is sort of where it is. It's got a certain level. Do you see more things? Are you looking, for instance, in handsets at doing more, you know, I'm blanking on the word, motion sensing, those kinds of things? Or were you looking at more, you know, other types of location sensing that would give different parts of the puzzle beyond just GPS?
Sure. I mean, see, the GPS again is a sensor, as I said. You know, the way we look at it is that it has got tremendous applications, and the community has taken advantage of that. I think there are other sensors also built into the phone. Accelerometer is one of them.
Accelerometer, that's the word I was looking for.
Right? So using accelerometer, you could come up with many different type of applications and create a very similar kind of impact like GPS has done. One of the sophisticated accelerometer can now really detect your heartbeat in a continuous fashion, so it can detect how you're breathing plus how your heart is, you know, pumping. And there is a certain correlation between those two, which can, you know, detect whether you have certain problems that you are not aware of, but you may like to go and get it checked, and things like that. There are many type of prophylactic applications in the health industry that could be enabled through these sophisticated sensors put into the phone. So I'm not saying the phone itself will be a dedicated medical device. Nobody wants to carry a phone which has got a heart monitor in it, and if my friends know it, then I won't feel very comfortable, right? So almost all of those devices will have sensors that will be much more accurate, you know, much more precise than what we have today.
So do you see a time when the phone is a sensor? I mean, one is it's a sensor for stuff I want to know about, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about me. But the other model is it's a sensor of other stuff that I participate in, kind of the grand, you know, kumbaya, we are the world kind of sense. Like I'm being a sensor for traffic information, and that's kind of, you know, good for the world, and I'm all for betterment, but it doesn't help me because I'm stuck in traffic. Do phones become sensors for that? Temperature, motion, speed, pollen count, whatever other crazy thing you have?
In some aspect, yes, it could be. Now, what is more important to me? Today, more important is my privacy. But by the way, I was in Shanghai less than 3 weeks ago, and all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, somebody called me from Plano, Texas, just to say hello. And is this something that I wanted? I could have turned the phone off, but I didn't because I know that there may be some important phone calls. But I would have preferred to see that somebody really got an alert just before calling me that, oh, this is time, right? So, so it may be a privacy issue, but maybe something that I want. Mm-hmm. But again, I think the basic point is there's a lot of things that could be done using these sensors where the phone could be a pass-through information, add value to the information for other purposes without sacrificing my security or my privacy. On the other hand, the security, privacy, and my location information could be of importance to me, and hence, if I can share with my friends, and I could have such another, you know, impact to it. Yeah. So I think there will be application that covers both and more ranges.
I should say we'll have some time for audience questions, so if you want to be thinking about those, we'll do it. Let me just sort of, if you were looking at this market and you know, where it is now, what are the next opportunities and next things? What are the opportunities you're really excited about? Not as like, you know, by the time we're all about to die, they'll be around, but it's sort of things, you know, sooner for some of us than others. But sort of over the, you know, in the foreseeable horizon, what are the markets that you guys are really excited about that combine connectivity and location? So I think Cindy, you know, gave us a really good list of what's hot now. What's sort of the next thing that you can kind of almost see, almost touch, but not quite, but you think is going to be a real interesting market?
I think healthcare is going to be game-changing.
Yeah, the FedEx thing was cool. I don't know if you saw that. Was a very cool sense.
But, I mean, it's basically that's a huge issue for us right now is the cost of healthcare. Yeah. And people go to the doctor just because they have to go for their monthly checkup, and they really don't even need to go. We see a ton of different devices coming out that are going to monitor hearts, knees that have just been replaced, hips that have just been replaced, and literally what will happen is when the doctor thinks he needs to see you, he'll find you and he'll call you in.
And that's a good thing.
I think it is. I think it is. And I think the big issue on that one's
I'm
going to
going
be...
to hate that when my doctor can call me in. It's,
Yeah.
where have you been these last 3 years?
But the issue there is going to be who pays for it, right? Does the patient pay for it? Does the insurance company pay for it? And that's what has to get worked out is, I think, the business model there.
Yeah. It's funny, I keep hearing healthcare as a major location market. And maybe I'm just blind, but I don't see as much business in it right now. I mean, I think that might be, if it's going to be big, there's a lot of opportunity and growth there.
It's because the FDA has to approve all these products, and that takes a couple of years. So stay tuned. It'll happen while you're alive, I think. So.
Never know. You never know.
So look forward to.
What are the other ones? Yeah, I'll look forward to that. What are the rest do you think? What are other markets that you get excited about?
There is an FDA-approved device just got launched on this healthcare, but that's not a phone.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think there are applications that we talk about are relevant for this country or a developed country, but they're underdeveloped world, which huge population and huge potential. There are a lot of opportunities over there. Not this type of location application, but there are many others.
Yeah.
So I think
Can you give us, what would be an example of one?
You know, if you go to these conferences or these summits in Asia, you will see operators from Indonesia, you know, there or Malaysia. You know, those smaller operators who may have 30 million, 40 million customers, not this 200 million or 80 million customers. They are coming up with very innovative ad opportunities depending on where those people are. I mean, their users are, and being very profitable in marketing those services. Now, I'm sure what will happen is you will see a lot more proliferation of the services in not only the ad side, but also not only this commerce side, but also on other things that people will be very interested in knowing. Let's say, congestion, the traffic congestion. Traffic congestion in India is a perpetual problem. I am sure that if you offer the end consumer some choices that, okay, all right, here, ahead of time, if you take this, you're going to have this kind of traffic delay. They would love to have that information. So things of that nature that may not be something that we feel today in this world, but in other worlds, this is very, very important.
Other sort of right over the horizon kinds of things.
Well, I'll just comment around, I think one of the things that isn't new, but I think will be expanding rapidly is anything related to social networking. And so when it comes to the consumer. It was interesting last night when I arrived at the airport, I was standing there there was a couple young guys. I guess they were young. They were less than 40, I know that much. But, and they were kind of conversing about how, they were telling friends where they were and, that whole stuff that goes on and, you're close to this and that kind of thing. Certainly for the majority of us in this room, it probably doesn't interest us. But that market will just explode over the next 3 to 5 years, whatever that is. And so when we look at, it's not new, but it is really emerging and exploding. And I think when we start to look at how different devices will interact with consumers and how they find each other and what they do with sharing information back and forth, whichever connectivity, I think that's one piece that will be surprising to all of us, how much people do that.
So a large part of that market is presumed to be based on advertising marketing revenues, right? You checked in here, you're a fan of Pete's Coffee, there's Pete's Coffee across the street, they're going to say blah, blah. Would you see carriers wanting to participate in that part of the revenue stream, or will it be in we're giving you the bandwidth and here's how much that costs?
Well, let's be clear, we want to participate in every aspect of the revenue stream.
I kind of had that feeling.
I'm not so sure, yeah, right, Todd?
Absolutely.
Is that surprising to you? No.
How does T-Mobile feel about
yes,
that?
Yeah.
You're all for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Comware wants to participate in that too.
But no, I think there is that element there, that there are new ways to generate revenue for the value chain, right? Yeah. And I think we're looking at that, and how do you end up sharing revenues back and forth, and where are those things that customers actually value that they'll pay for? What are those elements of, that become more valuable over time? And that's the thing that we all talk about, and I think it's still yet to be determined. I know that's where will some of those new revenues come from?
Yeah. I think one of the interesting things is you do have new revenue streams, and to the extent people expect revenue from where they've always gotten it, they may be faced with a flat to declining revenue stream where another one just explodes right next door. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing.